here and there. And it's just so fulfilling to be in dialogue with all of the students and then to take these things that matter to us greatly and then to put them in front of all of the artists, the students who walk through these doors. Art is a dialogue. Art is not a monologue. Art is not somebody standing on a stage and playing to an audience just for their own personal gratification. But every violinist knows that when you play to your crowd. And you love hearing what they feel about something. And this show is very special. I think I can speak for every artist in the room. Lana, I'm talking about you. I like to make Lana turn red every show. Megan, I mean, all the artists in the room. It's very special for us. And so, on behalf of all of us as artists, we want to thank you for being here and for coming to look at all these works. Tonight, I would like to thank Assemblyman Fitzpatrick for being here. The Assemblyman and I have had a lot of fun. Recently, it was about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I gave a phone call, and I just had the idea, the Assemblyman and I had met a few years ago, had a very quick conversation, and I just really enjoyed the conversation. I called up the office and I said, hey, can I ever do a portrait painting? And immediately on the other side, the woman said to me, she said, oh, absolutely, that sounds like a nice idea. And I was like, really? And so it happened. I called up Margaret. I was like, do you remember this fella? And she's like, yeah, that's so cool. So what do an assemblyman and an artist talk about when they get into the studio and they start working on a painting? You would think that we would talk about how you're mixing the colors and how this and that. The first thing we started talking about was music. And so the Assemblyman loves music. And I started throwing all my weird, wild Irish bands that are like fringe, Afro, Celt, opera mixed with this. And he's like, okay, I'll see it and I'll raise that. And I'm gonna give you, was it Celtic flamenco music? What was it? Salsa Celtica. He won. I just bowed and I just said, you win. Salsa Celtica, I can't raise you any higher. No, we've had a lot of fun. We've had about 4 sittings, and it's just been a really great time. Talk about the work that the Assemblyman does in the town for the betterment of everything that we participate in, and then talk about what we as artists are dreaming up in this area. So another thing that you might see on the far wall over here are some conceptual renderings. And this is very much the dream of what Flowerfield could be one day. And I have to say, we're taking steps towards that. We're very grateful to Jaridan, our landlord, and the conversation is taking place right now for the courtyard to actually be ripped right out. So right outside you here. If you parked your car and you said, oh, how nice, you can park so close to the classes. Well, you won't be able to. No. So our dream is actually, instead of having a stone courtyard, what is possible right now is a full grass courtyard with trees, sesame trees, and loads of plantings. If I have my way, and I don't know if Paul Lim is here, if I have my way, there will be stone gargoyles in that courtyard. Although I'm told that the gargoyles might get nixed, I'm going to find a way. Not happening. All right. I'm going to sneak them in the middle of the night. Everyone's going to come in the morning, just see gargoyles with water pouring out of their mouth. Long Island needs gargoyles. If you leave here tonight without anything else, Long Island needs gargoyles. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's our dream for what is taking place in the courtyard right there. Something very exciting about being here at the Atelier is, as you see on all the signage and all of our literature, the Atelier is the crossroads of art and community. And so, I say this often, but if you know anything about me, I studied art in Italy, where you left the classes and you went down to the cafe and you grabbed a cup of coffee and you made fun of each other and you laughed and you lifted each other up and you talked and you enjoyed life and you went through things. And you said, I had a real problem with my painting, this morning. And the other person would say, well, of course you had a problem because your bloody colors are awful. And you say, oh, why are they? And that's how great art is birthed. And so the exciting thing about what's happening right now is that we were here for a short while, And then there were whispers of another great art group that wanted to come in here. So it is a great honor to have the Brick Studio come in as a sister organization. We have a professional affiliation of them. We're great friends. We love them. And they're here with all their membership. And so Estrelita, if you want to wave your hand.
Hi.
And Estrelita, how many members do you have?
We're 36 members right now.
36 members.
And growing.
So that's a posse. We're very grateful to be neighbors to each other. So tonight here in the Masterworks exhibition, you'll see work by Laura, and it's just tremendous. And if you have any questions, again, Estrelita will help you out with that.
Right.
The other thing we're very grateful for is the library. So if you haven't been over to the library yet, walk that way, and someone will point you in the direction. The library consists of a donation from Andrew Washington, one of the most important private book collections in the country. It's up to 10,000 books that we received in a donation. And then also the Smith family of Smithtown very graciously made a donation to us so that we could build the physical instruction. And on top of that, we got an anonymous letter because these things, we have the vision, but then the means, people have stepped up and just been absolutely wonderful. So what is the purpose of that library? That library is for you guys. So you can come in and you can say, well, I'm not an artist. Well, you're here tonight, and maybe you're married to somebody who dragged you kicking and screaming. But other than that, you're probably here because you love art. And if you love art, that's your library. Come in, pour yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. We're very happy to have you. There's chairs there. It's open many hours a day. I don't want to say the legal hours. We're working all that out right now. But we're open many hours a day. And that's for you guys to come and to just have coffee, open up an art book, and share, and tell us what you're up to. I have a few points that are pulled together for me, courtesy of my Director of Operations, my wife, Margaret. And one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to go through and just quickly share. I'm going to go very quickly through the different artists. But I wanted to share a little bit about each artist. I'm going to start over here. Right here we have Leo Mancini. Leo Mancini was the principal instructor of the cast drawing department at the Florence Academy. He now runs an atelier up in Boston. And Leo Mancini comes down frequently to the atelier at Flowerfield. And the ateliers historically were always at war with each other. Leo and I are best friends. It's really cool. So Leo comes down to me and we work together, and he offers materials workshops. And so I really like that piece. Wendy Jensen, if you don't know anything about Wendy Jensen, Wendy returned to art after, so it's a big accomplishment if you raise 4 children, right? But if you raise 4 children, and then you pause and you said, you know what? I think I'm going to go adopt 4 more children and raise another wave of children. Wendy is a heroic person. After raising 8 children, she returns to painting again, and now she's here as the instructor for young adult classes. I've never seen a better teacher with young children. I've never seen such a glow in their eyes. Moving down the wall here, Lana Ballet. Lana also has the piece of the sand dunes at the far end, right there. I'm particularly taken by that large piece at the far end, and being a South Shore artist, I know I'm up here on the north side right now, but I reside on the South Shore. The light in that piece is absolutely beautiful. There's something about the glow of light just beyond the silhouette of that sand dune that it pulls you into the piece. That glow of light, it almost feels like there's heaven on the other side of there. And so I just think that's an absolutely beautiful piece. And it's wonderful having Lana. Lana's right over here. The next artist we see right here is Bill Graff. And so Bill Graff has a number of pieces throughout the show. He also has the woman reclining on the couch over there. And Bill Graff is a wonderful instructor who jumps mediums incredibly well. He's the Bo Jackson of the painting world, in that he can switch mediums effortlessly. And he's an outstanding craftsman. And he's an outstanding teacher. Bill is loved here. I sometimes come into the atelier, and the class has been over for 2 hours. And Bill's leaning over a table and he's like, well, that's what alizarin crimson does. That's what you're gonna get. When alizarin crimson is mixed with that, I'm like, it's 2 hours into classes already. Students like taking copious notes. But that's Bill's heart. Bill has the biggest heart in the world. He's a fantastic teacher and great artist. The next piece that you see here, 2 side by side, those are my pieces. They actually come from, if you ever hear me say a number, if you ever hear me give a date, don't trust me. I don't remember when I did those. It was about 10 years ago. Did that right? Okay, I got it completely right. About 10 years ago, I was painting on the East End in Riverhead, and I was looking at my model bailed. So I had some beautiful model books, I forget who it was. And I go to grab myself a cup of coffee in Riverhead. It was freezing cold, it was January. And there was a guy shivering up against the wall. And I looked at him and he was actually shaking, but he looked like he really needed work. And I went over to him and said, hey, would you ever like to pose for a painting? And he looks at me horrified like that. I was like, si quieres, puedes, and I was like speaking to him, I was like, if you would like, you could come upstairs to my studio, I will pay you to sit for a painting. And he backs away like horrified. And then finally he just said to me, are you the police? I said, no, I'm not the police. I was like, I'm an artist, I'm weird. I do stuff like this. And he's like, all right, all right. He said, this is weird. So he comes up to the studio, and immediately he had the sense of like, I don't belong here with your type. It was heartbreaking. And he went up against the wall, and he crossed his arms, and he was warming up a little bit. I gave him a cup of coffee. And when I gave him a cup of coffee, he took it like me, a cup of coffee. And that was the beginning of our friendship. Maurizio would come to pose for the painting. He used to pose for the drawing that day. I think I did that drawing in about 3 hours. I didn't really have time to get to the whole pose, but I locked in the face. I said, Maurizio, can you come back again and pose for the painting? So he poses for the painting, and as he poses, he starts telling me his story of it taking months to get from Central America. I'm just saying loosely Central South America. He came, and it took him months to get up to New York, and he was stuck in the trunk of a car. He was in the back of the tractor trailer. Sometimes he didn't know if somebody was going to pick him up or if he was just abandoned at a point. Heartbreaking story when he got here. And he worked really hard, and he saved every penny, and he sent it all back to his wife and his 2 children. So he had a 12-year-old daughter that when he left, she was just months old. And so he's posing for the painting. I finish up the painting, and then I get a yell. I'm crossing Riverhead at Main Street, and it was like months later, and I go, hola, Kevin, ¿cómo estás? And he's like, I'm going back to my country. And I just wanted to say thank you. And it was cool, it was like a moment of like integrity, like I appreciate everything. And he goes, and by the way, I have a cattle ranch. He's like, I have like 100 cattle. And he's like, I want to do really well. So it was pretty beautiful. That painting was pretty neat. Got picked up by Newsday right after it was painted. And I'm excited to have it here tonight. The collector actually sent it down from Syracuse, if I have the right city. Just to see how long my cord goes here. Megan Yule has these beautiful plein air studies. Megan Yule studied at the Florence Academy. She is, currently she has a studio in Southampton where she lives. And she's also here. You can see Megan all around town playing our painting. Yes, thank you. She deserves that. Megan's work is fantastic. She, as a plein air teacher, she is connecting to students in the most wonderful way. She's just drawing out such beautiful work. One of the things I love about Megan's work is her brush handling. And the first time I saw Megan's work, she was fully herself in that she possessed a way of dragging the brush that was unique to her. And it was also in dialogue. I felt like I saw Mark Alessio. And so, sure enough, Mark Alessio and Megan, you guys work together, right? And it's just really neat to see the interconnectedness of all of us and how we move paint. And somebody came in here tonight who's familiar with Florence and said, there's a Florentine brush handling that I see here. And I was like, yes, there is. So I just thought it was a beautiful thing. In particular, the piece with the fountain, Megan has several pieces. I think you brought another fountain painting a while back, and the way that she drags her brush, one stroke it looks like, with a spray of water. And take a look at her work up close. Megan also does portrait work. She did a beautiful, stunning portrait of her mother that she brought in recently. And we're very grateful to have them here. I'm going to zoom forward. We have 2 more Leo Mancini's. And I'm making my way across the room right here. And David Chevlino, I'm going to zoom forward, is right over here behind you. So David Chevlino, I really like him because what David does is he flirts with the world of abstract and he flirts with the world of realism. And he says, I'm not fully on either of your sides, okay? So I'm going to straddle the both worlds, which I really, really love about his work. Gamble was famous for saying classical art is great abstract. Abstract art is classical. Like there are elements in this work that when I look at it, the colors really grab me, but it's also the expression. It's also the empty space. But it's also the fact that he leaves something succinct and just lets it be. So I really like David's work. And making our way over, we have this small painting in the corner here by James Deal. But if you find James, are you here? Oh, there you are. Wave your hand. James is, just like I was saying about Bill Graff, James is diverse in that he has several aspects to his work. So James does beautiful work for graphic novels and illustrations, and he ties it in where the students come in. And he has, I walk into the studio sometimes, and there are models wearing these fantastic superhero costumes and everything. And so James is teaching the students how to actually paint a costume figure using present-day sources. It's just so fun and so unique. So we're very grateful to have James here tonight. All the works in this exhibition are for sale, except for my work. I'm the director, so I don't sell through my own institution. But I just want, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Gabby right here, and she will be glad to assist you. The last thing that I have to relate to you is yes, I thought, Paul, I wanted you to share about Gwen Marcus if you're up for that.
Well, I've got to be up for something else. You forgot about something about the brick studio.
Oh no, I spoke about this.
No, they're just across the street, and you can buy the pottery there. It's fantastic.
Yes.
And so it's for sale too.
And it's for sale, yes. All of Laura's work is for sale. Actually, from what I heard, a lot of Laura's work is sold.
Yes, and we also have other members' work out there to sell.
And we also have, okay, so there are also other members' work for sale as well. I'll speak, do you want me to speak about Gwen Marcus? Gwen Marcus, her statuary right here, is absolutely, it's absolutely beautiful. The thing about Gwen's work that really strikes me is the line and the silhouette that she forms. Gwen, if you know anything about Gwen, she's one of the most important sculptures in the contemporary art scene right now. I first saw Gwen's work down the road from here. It was a full-size statue, and I was sitting in somebody's backyard, and the figure was reaching into a pool with her toe. And I said, what French master from the 19th century produced this? And the collector said to me, actually, that artist is alive and living in New York City right now. So Gwen graciously exhibits with us, and we had a very successful show with her last year. Gwen has large 8-foot-tall sculptures that she produces, and Gwen is about this tall. And her hands are really small. And when you see her work, she uses those hands in this mighty way. And it's not the size of the sculptor in the studio. She's an amazing artist, and so we're very honored to have her. Lastly, we're launching a really big effort, and our middle school, high school program is now, we're giving it like a real big boost. So we're very excited to say that. And so we're happy to welcome to our staff, Julia Lamarca. Do you want to raise your hand? And so Julia will be spearheading that effort, which will be kind of spread out through the whole studio, but a portfolio development program that's really, in my opinion, it's a connecting the dots for everything we have been doing. So I've talked your ear off enough tonight. I'm very grateful to have you. I'm sure I forgot a few things because I usually get that. Paul, can you think of anything?
No, I think you've done a fabulous job. As always.
Thank you.